The Menendez brothers are in the news again after their attorney came up with harsh charges that their most recent parole hearings were blatantly rigged. The statement has sparked a renewed national conversation on one of the most notorious true crime cases in the United States, which has divided and captivated the public for over 30 years. Eric and Lyle Menendez were found guilty in the middle of the 1990s of the horrifying murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez inside their Beverly Hills residence. In addition to the horrible nature of the crime, the fact that it involved two young men from an affluent, seemingly ideal family also left America in shock. From the outset, the Menendez case dominated public opinion, courtroom coverage, and headlines. The brothers were portrayed by the prosecution as cold-blooded, calculating murderers driven by greed during their trials, implying that they desired control of their parents' multi-million-dollar fortune. In contrast, the defense contended that Eric and Lyle were severely traumatized kids who had suffered years of physical, mental, and even sexual abuse at the hands of their parents, rather than vicious criminals. The defense argued that the murders were motivated by a desire to break free from a cycle of horror that had taken over their lives, not by financial gain. It is this conflict of narratives between survival and greed that has shaped the Menendez brothers' legacy. The brothers are serving life terms without the chance of release until recent hearings, and their attorney maintains that the system is still biased against them decades later. In calling the parole hearings clearly rigged, he is claiming that officials made their decisions before the brothers had a chance to explain their position. He said the sessions were unfair, unbalanced, and opaque, which undermined the goal of parole, which is to determine if prisoners have changed and whether they will be a future threat to society. In America, the purpose of the parole system is to provide prisoners with a genuine opportunity to turn their lives around. It is intended to evaluate their conduct, social rehabilitation, and preparedness for reintegration. But the attorney says those principles were completely disregarded in this case. The proceedings were set up to conclude in denial, and Eric and Lyle were supposedly assessed only on the reputation of their crime rather than their personalities after serving more than 30 years in prison. The Menendez case has regained attention and sparked new fury in response to this most recent accusation. The brothers' supporters contend that the legal system has to acknowledge both the decades they have already spent and the mistreatment that allegedly prompted them to take action in the first place. The seriousness of their crime, according to critics, precludes any kind of release under any conditions. Now, the brothers' own lives are at stake, but so is the integrity of the system that is meant to provide each prisoner with an equal opportunity. The fact that the Menendez issue has maintained its public interest only serves to underscore its importance. The story has been re-examined in several internet forums, podcasts, scripted television plays, and documentaries over the years. A whole new generation has learned about the case through social media and streaming services, many of whom were not around when the first trials took place. A large number of them are now doubting if the initial decisions were actually fair and whether the brothers should at least be given a fair chance to defend their freedom. Regarding the attorney's startling allegations, parole officials have not yet issued an official statement to the public. However, the comment by itself has been sufficient to refocus attention on one of the most extensively discussed criminal cases in America. Lyle and Eric Menendez are still behind jail walls for the time being. However, their attorney has publicly asserted that the parole system is biased against them, which has rekindled the discussion about their future. A discussion concerning justice, equity, and the treatment of America's most infamous prisoners continues to revolve around the Menendez brothers, over 30 years after the crimes that stunned Beverly Hills.